Let's watch the single most important person in Georgia responsible for your high Georgia power bill continue to do his dirty work. That would be Commission Chair Jason Shaw.
I just want to point out, it's not the PSC that's out there recruiting these industries.
I don't know if he's just really this confused or if he's disingenuous, and it doesn't matter which, because either way, what he does is really harmful. He starts off by claiming that data centers coming to Georgia aren't his fault. He's not recruiting them to come here. Well, that has nothing to do with anything. Commission Chair Shaw is responsible for setting rates and ensuring that costs are accurately allocated to the customer class that causes them.
Differentiates these customers from others, and that's the reason why we work so hard to develop a whole new set of standards.
Oh, you've worked so hard to develop a whole new set of standards on how to charge data centers, have you? Actually, let's look at those standards. These standards say that Georgia Power has discretion on what to charge data centers.
We've been through so much, y'all. We keep talking about rates. I
don't know where this Country Hillbilly Act is coming from. We've been through so much, y'all. What have you been through? You're not even a Georgia Power customer. You pay your electric bill to Pine EMC, which is a nonprofit with rates far below Georgia Power's for-profit rates. And you haven't been through anything because your bills haven't gone up 40% in 2 years, like Georgia Power bills have, that you voted for every single time. But let's hear what you've got to say.
When I took office in January of 19, we basically had a perfect storm that was already coming our way with 2 nuclear units that were late.
Georgia Power's Plant Vogtle was not a perfect storm. You had opportunity after opportunity to cancel that boondoggle, but chose to keep going. Why? Because Georgia Power wanted you to. You ignored energy experts, and you ignored public comment, and you even ignored your own staff to keep going. If it was a perfect storm, it was a storm of your making.
I had to go through the unprecedented amount of dealing with putting all that into the rate base. And
You mean you had to do your job? You have to put the rates for a project into the rate base? That doesn't make any sense that you're complaining about this. Yes, it was unprecedented because it was so fucking far over budget. An amount of money that was obscene that Georgia Power customers should never have had to pay.
I just want to applaud my staff, and I'll stand up for them any day, all day, every day, because they work so hard to deal with this.
You're going to applaud your staff for doing their jobs?
I mean, the final stipulation on that, you're not going to read this in the papers how much Southern Company shareholders have eaten over those major decisions.
You're not going to read it in the paper because it's not true.
On that case, but it's over $5 billion.
If I could punch him in the face right now, I would, because the $5 billion that Georgia Power shareholders ate, it pales in comparison to the billions and billions, 11 I think last I counted, that Georgia Power ratepayers have to pay. And we had nothing to do with choosing that project. Every energy expert at the time testified not to build nuclear reactors. It was really expensive, and there are far cheaper solutions. But that's what Georgia Power wanted. That's the risk they wanted to take. So when they failed and the risk blew up in their face, guess who paid? Not them. And look at how much profits they've made in the last few years. Billions upon billions of dollars in profits, which Commission Chair Jason Shaw is personally responsible for, while he tries to gaslight senators into thinking that, oh, poor Georgia Power spent all this money and they're not getting it back.
So to think that we just passed that on, we did the best we could. It wasn't our fault that it was, behind schedule.
You did not do the best you could. You did an absolutely shitty job, and you should have been fired. Actually, everyone involved in that project should be in jail.
We did the best we could, and that fuel case
Now you're moving on to the fuel case in 23. What, are you going to run down every decision you made to increase rates and try to justify it?
23 was the single largest hit to ratepayers. That was $16 a month.
$16 a month is a big increase in electricity bills. If only that's what it was. But it was a lot higher than that, sir. And actually, it could have been lower because you were begged, pleaded, urged, and advised to take a longer time period to recover the huge cost increase for gas prices that spiked after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
To alleviate the upward pressure on rates, the recovery period in Part B should be extended from 36 months to at least 5 years.
Everyone asks you to extend the recovery time from 3 years to at least 4 years, if not 5.
With the modification of an extended recovery period from Part B from 36 months to 48 months.
You have the authority to make this better for ratepayers. And we ask that you set the recovery at 60 months.
But you didn't do that, did you? So now you're going to claim that that's not your fault, that it was such a high spike in our bills?
And that wasn't a rate case, that was a rate case that had one rate increase that we staggered it out to try to help ratepayers. So it wasn't 6, it was 4.
We've left Plant Vogtle and we've left the fuel cost surcharge, and we're going on to just a regular rate increase. You don't like being told that the commission raised rates 6 times in 2 years. You want it to just be 4. That was so huge that instead of making it 1 rate increase, you split it over 3 years. And then when the media reported 3 separate rate increases, which it was, you didn't like that because that sounded terrible. That's why senators are passing legislation about data centers now. That's why you're there, because they know doing nothing is not an option. Voters are going to take their pound of flesh out of legislators this November's elections, as well as commission elections, because you allowed Georgia Power to rape and pillage the state and have huge rate increases, and then we suffer huge bill increases, and then they make huge profits, and you're going to go down there gaslighting to senators?
What we're seeing from how these revenues from these large load customers that have already contracted are actually helping us stabilize rates in the state.
You know what's really sad about this is that it's clear to me that Commission Chair Shaw doesn't know the principles of rate design, which is a cost causer pays the cost. He should not be shuffling costs around from data centers to residential customers, claiming he's freezing rates because of the increased revenues that data centers bring in. Increased revenues from data centers should cover the cost that data centers are causing to the grid. We know that Georgia Power has been inappropriately allocating costs across all customer classes instead of just to data centers. That's why residential rates have gone up 7 times faster than industrial rates.
There's a lot of controversy on this because we can all argue all day about what it's going to take to keep the lights on.
We're not having a controversy over what it takes to keep the lights on. We're having a controversy over why Georgia Power's residential bills are so high and what we can do to ensure that these enormous costs for data centers are allocated to them instead of us. So if I urge you to call your senator, just look it up, go to my voter page, and ask them to support Senate Bill 34 with Huffstetler's amendments to require Georgia Power to allocate all costs to data centers that data centers cause.